Hello, everyone. I'm here with David Eschenlar, author of the book Survivor of the Pickup Community. Hey, David.
Hey, what's up?
And me and David have been messaging each other back and forth for quite a while. David also makes videos regarding attraction, how to become your better self, and just looking at his content, and I actually read the book he wrote, I saw lots of similarities between his journey and my journey. And it seems like both of us have gone through the pickup community's advice pretty hardcore, and we've both kind of come out the other end with some insights that I think are very different than most people who are still in the pickup community.
That is true. I totally agree. I think one of the main things we both came to realize is that many of the things typically taught within the pickup community are not necessarily the best way to get us, like as boys or as people in general, to where we want to get, right? And I would say so in a therapeutic sense, meaning that pickup doesn't necessarily get us in the place where we want to be therapy-wise, and on the other hand, it doesn't really work for us as human beings spiritually, if you know what I mean. So on the one hand, you have the therapy side, which is really about, it's about healing yourself. You've been like wounded as a child, or like as a young boy, you wanted to have a girlfriend and she rejected you, this kind of stuff. So in the pickup community, it is really common for us to try to heal that as if it was therapy, and it is in a way, but not really, right? And then there's this other thing where we maybe have really needy tendencies. We want to get stuff from people, and that's where it comes more to the spiritual realm. And even there, pickup doesn't really serve us, because spirituality is really about openness and giving to others as opposed to taking, right? And the pickup community has this weird spin to it, where it's really not about giving to others, right? It's rather getting something for yourself. Do you agree?
It's very me, getting power, building up your own value, and getting what you want out of life.
Exactly.
It's a very inflow mindset and philosophy on life.
Yeah.
And I like that you were talking about how it's a sort of therapy. I kind of see pickup and the pickup community as almost like Western medicine, compared to like healthy spirituality and healthy personal development as more like natural medicine or Eastern medicine, you could say. I feel like pickup is almost like taking this artificial medicine that's going to give you all these side effects. The guys, for whatever reason, they're sick romantically, or they're sick with their interactions with girls. They can't connect authentically with girls for whatever reason. And there's a healthy way to get over that. There's a healthy way to connect authentically with girls. But the pickup community is instead of like doing that healthy stuff, like eating healthy and exercising and doing that healthy stuff, pickup is almost, in my mind, like a Western medicine. It's like this artificial medicine that you take, and it in some ways gives you the illusion that it works. Because doing pickup will get you results. It will get you results that typically don't satisfy you. You'll start getting some kisses. It's so funny talking about, like, you'll start getting some kisses. Like, what does that mean? Like, you'll start putting your penis in some vaginas, and you'll be like, oh, this is the answer, and you'll keep wanting to take more and more of that medicine, thinking that's the answer, when really it's this artificial thing that serves some purposes. I think it amplifies your insecurities. It gets you to take in action, but lots of it is actually very unhealthy, and I think in lots of ways really disconnects you from the opposite sex, disconnects you from yourself, disconnects you from spirituality, and disconnects you from connecting with people in a flowing, natural way, rather than this artificial putting yourself out there and taking the world by force method.
And it really only treats the symptoms, right? So
exactly.
The cause of whatever suffering you experience or used to experience is completely ignored, because the symptom, which is like I can talk in front of the crowd, or I can hit on a random girl. It seems so important and apparent to you that you don't even think about what's underneath that layer,
Nice, exactly.
right?
Yeah, that core of who you are, that's not looked at all in pickup.
No, exactly. And that's why I think the comparison to Western medicine is really suitable. Um, like, you know, for example, if you have heart disease, we typically give those people some sort of, I don't know, blood thinners or something, like
Yeah.
some kind of medicine, instead of just giving them healthy foods, like stuff that actually works. We cover up the symptom, and then they end up with, you know, like headaches, and then they take the headache pill and get something else. It's almost
Hmm.
like a similar cycle, right?
Yeah. I guess I think our main messages is if there's a guy who's really into pickup right now listening to this, I think from both of our perspectives, who we both really dived into pickup hardcore, and I've read David's book, which is an awesome book. David's been into pickup pretty hardcore, and we've both come out with this higher perspective on pickup, where I think we're glad we had the journey, but looking
Definitely.
back, we see how lots of the message is actually very, very toxic
Yeah.
to you as a person.
But let's take that for a second, because I think it's really interesting what you just said. We don't regret having taken the journey, right?
Yeah.
Well, why? Because to us it served, and by the way, the main title of my book is Rite of Passage, because for us pickup served as some sort of rite of passage. You know, like in the bush
Hmm.
somewhere in Africa, I don't have any actual idea, but like there's this certain point in a boy's life where it's time for him to move from being boy to a man,
Hmm.
and it is done by certain rituals, right? For example, he has to go out into the jungle or the desert and kill a lion by himself. I know in some other country, and I think that's rather weird, but I'm not here to judge. The moment where a boy becomes a man is where he has to suck another man's dick. That's really true. Like, I think it's in
Yeah.
Papua New Guinea. Um, so he has to have the semen of another man inside himself in order to be accepted as a man, right? And we
Crazy.
boys,
Huh?
we boys need that because, you know, girls. It's obvious when she's becoming a woman because now she's bleeding. She's a woman now. But for a boy, it's something that takes place in the spiritual realm purely, and that's why we need pickup, um, as one way for us to really make that transition into manhood, I think. But the thing
Yeah.
is, there is different ways to do that, right? You could go to the army, or you could take drugs or join a gang or something. Like those are all not necessarily good ways, right? But they work in the same way pickup does, because after you come out of it, you feel like you've grown into manhood. And I think it's in that
Hmm.
sense that pickup served us well, at least for me personally, and I think you agree in some respect, right? That
Yeah.
now we feel that we've grown into manhood, right? We're not little boys seeking for validation anymore. I hope, like, you know,
Yeah.
we all have our moments, but you know, like,
Yeah.
like mainly that's what it's about. And I watched this really interesting documentary called Point and Shoot recently. Have you
Hmm.
seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's about a guy who grows up in a really sheltered environment in the USA, and he studies Middle Eastern culture. Right, that means he's really interested in the culture, but his parents pay for him. He lives with them and everything. So someday he decides to go on a motorcycle journey to the Middle East. He goes there. He has adventures. Like a cop punches him in the face, and he gets imprisoned. All kind of cool things.
Awesome.
He comes back, and then the revolution in Libya breaks out. He has made friends there, so he decides to go back there, right? Just like some random American, just go back there and fight the Libyan revolution on side of the rebels. And what his family says, like his girlfriend, for example, she says, "Oh, it feels like he really needed that um, in order to create some sort of identity for himself, in order to not be a boy any longer." And I think
Nice.
while we don't all have to fight in revolutions to get there, I mean, like pickup is one nicer way to get there, right? But
Much nicer.
but I don't see how that could be like an end in itself. You see what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it
Uh,
shouldn't become a live theme or anything.
I completely agree with you. Um, just on the topic of rite of passage, I think there's really two main things that a boy needs to do and to turn into a man. One of them is to do something or several things that are you there or are you frozen?
Mm?
Okay, you're still there. So the first thing is to do something that takes massive courage, which like going to that war in the Middle East or whatever, or facing your fear of approaching a bunch of girls. Um, Doing something you're afraid of, I think, is one of the key elements to go from a boy to a man. And the second thing I think is doing something to that's true to you that would defy the expectations of the people around you. Whether it's to do something that your parents don't want you to do, but you still want to do, something your friends are against, or your just society in general, but to rebel against your society in some way that's true to you. I think those are the two main important factors from going from boy to a man. Courage and creating an identity, kind of rebelling against
Definitely, yeah.
societal influences, which I think pickup actually does pretty well in both of those. It takes some courage to approach girls and to
Yes, it
go into
does.
the land
Yeah,
of women.
sure,
It takes a lot of courage,
sure. Yeah,
especially for insecure guys who want to improve.
yeah,
And it also takes not caring what people think about you, like approaching girls, doing the most crazy things, and
mm,
not caring if she has a boyfriend or the people around you or what your friends think of you for being a player. So in that sense, pickup is probably one of the best rite of passages there is.
true. Wait,
But I completely agree with you that you go on the rite of passage, then you're like, all right, time to focus on real stuff that has substance.
yeah, exactly. But when you say like it's a good rite of passage, and then it it is something where you learn not to care what people think of you because it's true to yourself, I have to disagree to some degree, because one of the main problems I see with the whole community is that what you do is not necessarily true to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where really some sort of ideology comes into play, because you start out just being really hurt or whatever, right? Really,
Yeah.
really shy, and then right, that's how every story starts,
Yeah.
and then you move out of this, and well, you try to cover up that hurt. And in the beginning, it was just about, oh, like I want to be more confident, or I want to have a girlfriend, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you have this ideology that is reflected back to you from all kinds of angles, where you start to think that certain habits or certain actions are true to yourself, or should be true to yourself, why they're not. For example, like it doesn't require, like going out to approach random girls 5 times per week during the daytime in order to heal yourself or to get a girlfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly it becomes normalized, and it sort of justifies itself like within this community thing that this is what you ought to do because you're a guy. So you start also to do you also start to do things that are totally incorrect in the sense that they're not true to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there is not like, it's not a given truth, it's not objective truth that approaching many girls is what every guy should do.
Yeah.
The point is you think it. You think that that's how it is. So
Uh-huh.
I think that's one of the core problems of the whole thing, right?
Definitely. And at the same time, yeah, it makes you. I remember when I was hardcore to pick up 2 3 years ago. I was like, why isn't every guy approaching girls all
Yeah,
the time?
exactly. You actually think like, oh, their life must suck. They just haven't
Yeah.
seen the truth yet. That's what you
Yeah.
think.
Why isn't every guy going to the gym 5 days a week? Why
Yeah,
isn't every guy doing everything they can to improve themselves?
exactly.
Like my whole day was structured in a way that I was maximizing my ability to be a sexual man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and looking back, what that did was it made me become an extremely judgmental person
Mm.
because I was judging all these guys for not being a pickup self-development guy,
Mm.
for not approaching girls. And in my head, I was like, oh, all these guys are pussies, and I'm this strong man who's doing the right thing to do.
Mm.
And all that judgment, like looking back now, all that judgment was one of the main things limiting me and stopping me from connecting with other people, especially girls, because I was in such a judgmental headspace that I was secretly like judging myself.
Of course, you can connect with people if you judge them, and if you
Yeah,
put yourself on some sort of pedestal, right?
yeah,
That's a huge problem. You can't have a real connection with someone if, in some respect, you think you're better than them, and
yeah,
that's really. And I find it so weird. I mean, you seem to have had the same realization, which I had when I moved to a new city in Sweden. So
uh-huh.
I realized that there is people around me who are actually happy, if not more content with their lives, without ever having heard of pickup. That's the first thing, or having heard of it and not giving a damn about it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But before, like you say, you think like there is some sort of you have some sort of pride in spending all your time into or putting all your time into gym, meditation, broccoli, girls, like reading personal development books, having your vision board, like whatever we do, right?
yeah,
And you think that's like the pillar of human experience. It's like the holy grail. Um, and to some degree, you might have to have this confidence for it to break down at some point later in your life, so
hmm,
you can like go back to what you really are.
yeah,
Because yesterday I had this thought that if you really think about it, you can't forget something that you don't know.
hmm,
Okay, so you can't forget something you don't know. And in Eastern philosophy, it is usually preached that you ought to forget yourself, right? You should ought to forget your identity and just live and be and just go with the flow of the universe, so to speak. So to
yep,
forget yourself. But
uh-huh,
what if you don't know what to forget? And I mean, as little boys, we don't know who we are. We don't know we don't know our place in this world. We don't have a solid identity, so we don't have anything to forget. So
yeah,
the question then becomes like, maybe pickup, and again that's or any rite of passage serves for us as a way to get through to that identity feeling, so that we can then let go of it in the next step.
yeah. It gives you this. This is the person you want to be. You try really hard to be that person, and then one point you look back and then you go,
Yeah,
"This isn't me at all,"
yeah, you
and then you
realize.
forget it,
Yeah,
and then you realize who you really are again,
yeah,
who David Eschenlar really is, who Luke Eilers really is, and it
exactly.
goes back to your core. And another thing pickup was doing is I was seeing everyone on like a value. I was always trying to increase my value. Every single rep I did at the gym would increase my value by a little bit.
Mm.
Every single approach I did would improve my confidence a little bit. And then I would also see like girls that as values, be like, oh, that there's the hot girls, and I saw everyone on this like value field, which I think pickup really makes you be this person who sees everyone as a value instead of seeing everyone on an equal playing field as equal spiritual beings, or if, you don't even have to use spiritual language, but just as another human being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like, and once you take down all those judgments of, oh, a hot girl, oh, that's a buff guy who has
yeah.
good game, and maybe I should be friends with him and go out with him because he
Yeah,
taught my
because
game.
he's another alpha male, maybe.
That guy's so alpha, I want to be friends with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how I used to think. Yeah, yeah. So it was really great reading your book and connecting with you. But yeah, now just seeing everyone on an equal playing field, it's almost like the connections just flow naturally. You don't have to try to get anything. It's almost like relationships just almost flow into my life, just me being myself. And I remember reading a chapter in your book that really hit me. You said like with one girl, you dropped all the pickup stuff and you were just being yourself.
Mm.
You weren't trying to develop your value or say any lines or
I
escalate
was,
physically
the
or
reason the reason I didn't do that was because I was tired. So that's, you know, like at that point I was still deep into it, but I was so tired that I just wanted to go to bed, so I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like,
you weren't micro-calibrating your emotions or
no,
anything.
no, exactly. And then I just got lucky, sort of, you know, like
Yeah.
because it came at the right moment, and this realization then hit me. For you who haven't read the book or haven't heard the story, like, it was just me being in a big house with lots of foreigner living in it. I was really tired from traveling. I had been to other countries before, so I was in Japan, in Osaka, really tired. I just wanted to watch movies in my room, and so I heard that there was a party going on upstairs. I went up. Even if I was super tired, I just thought it would be time for me to socialize again, because that's what a cool guy does, right? So I went upstairs. I really didn't want to. I just had some, you know, I just chatted to some people, went back downstairs, met a girl on the way, and I just, you know, had a chat with her. And the whole point was that there was like this other guy, right? It was the perfect image of a man. He was so good looking. He looked like a mixture of Johnny Depp and Hercules. He had this wonderful English accent, and he was so loud and so funny. Like all this kind of stuff you usually associate with a successful guy, with an alpha male. He was really aggressive. All the girls giggled around him. Everyone just shut up when he talked. Like this kind of guy, right? And I was just like sleepy and tired. And he really tried hard to hit on her, like multiple. I think he even made out with her and everything. So I was like, "Oh fuck this! I'm gonna go to bed." Like, so I went down. She came, like, got me back upstairs. That happened like 3 times or something, and in the end we ended up in bed. And I was so confused, and like, I didn't know why. So I actually asked her straight out, like, "Why this? Why not this guy? Like, I would have chosen this guy." That's what actually I said. So she said that just you were just yourself. You like didn't try anything. You were just nice and calm and just a nice guy. Now it totally crashed my reality,
Yeah.
because I thought you couldn't be just a nice guy and calm and relaxed, and you had to do things in order to create a certain impression.
I like the not trying part.
Right?
Like, what pickup is it makes you try all these different things. It makes you try this, try this, try this. But yeah, it's really cool that there is this. I always thought like the hot girls are attracted to the alpha males, like that guy at the party. But some are. But the actual like cool girls, like the girls that you can have like the best connections with, like intelligent girls. Actually, more often than not, I've found that they actually aren't attracted to that alpha guy.
Exactly, and you don't even want those other ones. I mean, like, maybe not, but like, I guess most of us don't even want those other girls who want a douchey alpha male.
Yeah,
right? Because
those are like really superficial girls.
Exactly. So like, and then you realize, oh, I don't have to do those things, because all I wanted initially is like some substitute for my mommy or whatever.
Yeah.
And right, and you find her not by being a douchey alpha guy, but by being yourself.
Yeah, you let go of everything and just do what you want to do.
Exactly.
And
that's a really beautiful
stop trying. Yeah, I remember like 2011, 2012, at parties or whatever, I would just basically go and only talk to the attractive girls, and if I would like if I talked to all the attractive girls and struck out, I would go to like another party and only talk to the attractive girls, and everything was a mission to get girls. That was my whole life, and
yeah.
I know you were in that stage too.
Yeah.
And it's actually cool, like admitting it in public and be like, "That's the guy I used to be." It was a fun stage.
Yeah, it's totally fine, right? To think about it now.
Yeah, but now if I'm at a party, I don't have any agenda. I don't have any outcome. If I have desire, that girl's attractive, I'll go talk to her.
Yeah.
If I'll talk to girls I'm not attracted to. I'll talk to anyone at the party, and then just doing what I want to do in that present moment, not trying to get anything out of anything, not having an agenda. Pickup makes you really want to have an agenda and try to get value out of that girl, get value out of the party, get value out of everything. It's all about you sucking in. How can I validate myself as a human being? And when you let go of that and just enjoy what you want to do, that's when like the best connections have just come to me.
Yeah.
And if I have sex, like now if I connect with the girl and have sex, it's come in a lot more like flowing way, and we actually have like a good connection.
Like a good
All
sex. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
like
Yeah.
well, like in pickup, looking back, like almost all the sex I had, or all the hookups were like really bad and mechanical and
Yeah.
not flowing at all. Like they were all terrible.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree. Um, and I think, like, do you also feel that as you mature more, it is, I think much of pickup is really about control,
Yeah.
right? It's about you controlling your emotions, controlling the people around you, controlling the impression you make,
Yep.
and you're really trying to make up for whatever horrible, traumatic past you had, where some girl laughed at you or whatever, and now you wanna. I wouldn't say necessarily it's revenge, but it is in a way. It's not like you go around and you're like I'm gonna punish everyone and so forth. But you actually have some guys where it becomes really clear, like if you're on a pickup forum, that they have some sort of pleasure in calling girls bitches
Hmm.
and then like sending them out and telling them that they have to leave because their other fuck buddy comes or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
There's like this sense you get that there's actually pleasure in that. And even beyond that, I would say that most of us, we have some sort of feeling of that now we are in control and we can control and like direct everything around us. So that means
Uh,
that means since we are now socially like superior to everyone, if someone doesn't fit with our like what we want, we can just discard them. Or if a
yeah.
girl behaves moody because she's a girl and that's just what women do, right? It's a beautiful thing. We can just like, well, I come back when you calm down. Like, and I'll play with my other bunny. Like this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you realize, oh, it is really not about control, because control makes me really, it makes me feel constrained at some point. And I think you might have felt that too, right? It's,
Oh yeah.
if I send myself to the gym every day and send myself day gaming every day, that's not freedom. And then you start being lived instead of living. Can you
Mm.
relate to that? So
Perfectly.
when you say like you go out and you just like do whatever comes to you, I bet you're not thinking, oh, like I'm gonna have a good time, right? You just go and stuff just happens. Real connection
Yeah.
happens. Like love
Real connection.
happens. Rainbows
Yeah.
happen. Like all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And that stuff never would have happened during the pickup times.
No, of course not.
But looking back, like those forcing days and control days, those are lots of fun still. Like
Yeah. Looking back,
looking back,
even
and
at the time,
you're
right?
living in the illusion. Like you're gonna get something. Girls are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You're
at
moving
some
forward in
point.
life.
Exactly.
But yeah, ways that lots of guys in the pickup community get really misogynistic and they start hating women. And what I've noticed lots of guys is they get this I want to show the world how cool I am mindset. Look how many girls I can fuck, or look how many girls I can pull. Look how cool I am. Look how big in the gym I am. Look how many Facebook likes I get on this photo of me with this girl. It's like it's all this insecurity of you trying to prove to the world how cool you are. It's all about control, like you said, controlling your image, controlling your ego, controlling how the world looks at you. And suddenly, like if you just let all that stuff go, completely let it all go, suddenly it all comes back.
Yeah.
It's because
what I realized is, and I maybe you notice the same, like in moments where you're really like feeling love and openness and whatever you want to call it, you actually stop seeking for that validation.
yeah,
It's like the day you feel glad because you had a great connection with a girl, you stop being on Facebook. Like
yeah,
it's that obvious,
yeah.
right?
It's like a little light bulb goes over your head, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's like whoa, love.
yeah, exactly. And
What's this?
I wonder why it is so hard for us to realize those moments on a daily basis, or like on a moment by moment basis, because in the end, and it's so hard to be objective, like maybe both of us are totally wrong now, And
Yeah.
in 5 years we're gonna be back doing pickup, you know. Like, you never
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
Like, maybe
Yep.
they're right, maybe we're wrong, but
Yep.
it feels so real that we have made some sort of progress, and it feels so real that, you know, like, we think right now that we've moved to some spiritual higher truth,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
obviously I'm trying to keep my ego small, but that's just how it feels like. So the question really is, like, is it or is it not? And if it is, why is it so hard to get there?
Yeah. Yeah. In 3 years, we might have a Skype conversation and laugh at what we were talking about right now.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
not
pretty
pickup,
sure.
it's not this, and it's something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty sure. It's gonna be
Yeah.
something completely else. Yeah.
That's true.
But uh, at the same time, in some ways, I feel like I'm integrating some of the pickup stuff, but in a healthy way and coming from the right place. If I'm walking somewhere and suddenly I feel like a strong attraction to a girl, I'll still. It doesn't happen nearly as much as it was back in my pickup days, but I still kind of have that muscle memory of going up and approaching a girl.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, I just kind of integrate it, but it's like coming from the right place. It's still a flow experience rather than me like in my mind be like, all right, let's do this, let's force it. It's like boom, it just happens. It's just a spontaneous occurrence. So I don't want to say I'm like anti pickup now or above pickup, but I'd say I've pickup made me come from the wrong place. I kind of shut it out, and now I'm coming from the right place. Now every once in a while, I can still integrate something that I've learned from that rite of passage that pickup has taught me.
Of
But
course, it's not necessarily all wrong, right?
yeah,
Like, I would never say that. It's more just, it's the place you're coming from, as you said. It's the general angle of insecurity and needing that makes it wrong, the way that in which it is done.
yeah. I really liked your book because you share lots of really vulnerable stories and lots of openness, and like that's something the pickup community rarely talks about is being vulnerable. It's always about being the tough guy who always gets what he wants and never shows any weaknesses. But
Exactly.
like the true the guy who actually connects with people is the most vulnerable guy in the room. It's the guy who's willing to show his true self to the world, not the guy who's controlling his how he looks at the world. The tough guy. That's actually the most insecure guy.
Yeah, of course, because he's putting on this image, right?
Putting on this mask. The true confident guy is the guy who takes off all the masks and shows this is who I actually am.
Yeah.
And includes like that could be just sharing stuff about your life, sharing stories like you did in your book, or if you're just meeting a girl and you think she's attractive, just saying she's attractive, what you find attractive about her, what you're thinking about her, just being straight up honest with the girl, which the pickup community doesn't even really talk about. It talks about that a little bit, but it's almost amazing, like the message of honesty, vulnerability, that you could connect with girls in the flow and non-controlling way. This all these realizations that me and you have had about, well, like the pickup community is so toxic and there's actually a healthy way to connect with people. I don't think lots of people have an outlet or expression to get this healthy insight that me and you have fortunately received. Like I feel like they just go deeper and deeper into this pit, this never-ending pit.
Yeah.
That the more they go into it, the more they want to dig, and it keeps pretending they'll get a lay and I was microcalibrated that time, so must be microcalibration. Oh, they get another lay. It was this time, and they're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. But I'm wondering how are most guys going to figure out that lots of pickup is actually toxic to them, and how they could actually start connecting with girls again.
Yeah.
And maybe something like seeing the Skype. Maybe seeing how their normal friends could attract girls, or maybe through pickup they find a girl that they fall in love with, and they fuck it up with her, but they experience that love, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't do anything in pickup." Maybe it'll be something like that. I don't know. That's kind of been on my mind a lot lately. Is why do me and you kind of have this insight while there's so many pickup guys who are completely blind to like what we clearly see?
Well, first, I think it's important to define what they're searching for if they're digging deeper and deeper, as you said, right? One more approach, one more lay. Well, what are they searching for? What I was searching for was definitely just some feeling of acceptance, love, intimacy, like generally that I was okay as a human being, and
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. And obviously, if you dig deeper in the same hole, you won't get to the treasure if it's buried in the hole next to you, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's a really interesting question because, well, like, what to tell them, like, because I feel quite fortunate to have that realization of what to tell them, like, what to tell the other guys. I actually thought what I would tell a guy if he asked me now, like, how do I actually implement what you say? How do I actually overcome that phase of my life? Is, and that's really risky advice, right? I would say
Yeah.
go as deep inside that hole as you possibly can until you can't take it anymore, until it makes you vomit to even think of approaching a new girl. Because, you know, that's the rite of passage thought again. Like, when you're done with it, when you're so deep that it hurts too much, then you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You can't just stop midway and see like a
Yeah.
video on YouTube, oh, I'm gonna stop tomorrow. Like, that's not how it works. You know, like, people who are on drugs usually stop like right before they die, or they don't stop at all, right? It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, like halfway in, like I'm like half dead of my heroin right now, but I'm gonna stop now. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Maybe you actually have to go really deep, and as I said, it's risky advice. Like, I'm not sure about this, but telling guys to like really fuck it up really hard, as you said, with the girl they love, maybe it's that what it takes to come to that realization. And that's what it definitely took for me. I just had this moment where I thought, like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's you know, I remember it was winter, like right before Christmas. I didn't have anything to do. Uni was over. I had 14 days by myself in Sweden. I had like 5 girls with whom I was texting with, and all of them were like superficial and flaky, and I was just like, why? Like, I realized that it's me doing it, but why? I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
That's where the realization came from me.
Yeah. I agree with what you said in the beginning. It's all the guys who are into this. The bottom line is that all these guys are looking for love. They just want to find a girl to love and for someone to love them, or self-acceptance.
Yeah.
I think everyone comes in with the right intentions, but then people do what they believe will work. So they hear some guy giving them advice, and they're like, "Oh, that could work." So they're gonna do what works. And this is a common thing in like psychotherapy, is that the therapist doesn't tell the person what the therapist thinks will work, but the therapist will ask the person, what does the client think will work? So the therapist will ask the client, so how do you think you could get a girlfriend, or how do you think you could approach girls? And then the client will say an answer, or they'll talk through an answer, and then the client will go do those things. And basically the client has to do everything that the client thinks will work, and eventually the true insight will come to them as they do what they think will work. And the role of a teacher, the role of like a guru, is to give a message that's congruent to yourself. So I could say what's worked for me, you could say what's worked for them, what's worked for you, and then individuals could take what they've learned, can listen to these people, and see if what works for them can work for themselves.
Yeah.
But they're really gonna have to do what they believe will work. And it's almost like if someone thinks the world is flat, the only way to get them to believe that the world is round is to tell them to walk in a straight line and just keep going, to really believe that the world is flat and keep going and going and going.
Yeah,
and eventually they'll walk all the way around and reach the same place they're at. I'm like, whoa. They'll have an insight. I'm like, whoa, the world isn't flat.
Yeah.
The world will circle. But the only way for them to realize that is to keep going and going and going on that straight path. So I think the true insight kind of just naturally comes to people.
And that where it gets really weird, because like, what's the point with even talking about it with other people? Because it seems like, you know, like all self-improvement, all attempts to become something or to change yourself, in the end you don't change that much. If you think back to like your initial insecure self, Like,
Yeah.
isn't that pretty much like you right now, just a bit older? Like, or do you see that there has taken some fundamental change has taken place in your personality? I guess not. Like for me, I'm, I still have the exact same tendencies, and they will never
Hmm.
change. But it's you believe that you can change all the things, but I think that's just like our worldly perspective that, oh, like if you just do this, then this will happen, and like this cause and effect relationship
Yeah.
thinking. But what really, like in the end, like all there is like just, like some flow of life. You dive in, you come up, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a pessimistic worldview when it comes to personal development and so forth, but I think it's kind of true in some way. But still, um, what like teaching really does, and what I think your videos communicate really well, is you did one called Coming Home, right?
Yeah.
um, is to communicate that inside that what it is really about is that coming home. Like, is um, that continuous practice of accessing that infinite flow, or whatever you want to call it. Basically realizing that there's some unchanging quality towards your life.
Definitely. Yeah. The main message I want to articulate in that video is that all advices, whether it's pickup advice or it's self-improvement advice, becoming the strongest version of yourself, all that stuff is giving you advice that will work. It's like, do this in order to get to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Approach girls because you'll get laid. And it's doing things you typically don't want to do, or doing things that you want to naturally do to get somewhere where you're not now. And my coming home message was, you don't need to do any of that stuff.
Mm.
You don't need to self-improve at all. You don't need to become the strongest version of yourself. You don't need to do any pickup. What you just need to do is do what you like to do what you enjoy to do, authentically express yourself. And when you're authentically expressing yourself, when you're doing what you like to do, just doing whatever you're inspired to do in the moment, the funny thing is that doing that will tend to give you results that work.
Exactly.
Because the whole self-improvement mindset isn't doing it for the process. It's not doing it because you enjoy doing it, but it's doing it to get an outcome. Do you enjoy going to the gym because you enjoy going to the gym? Or are you going to the gym because you want to get big, because you want to impress girls?
Mm.
It's like you're doing all these different layers, and that's completely taking you out of the present moment, because you're not here, you're not present, you're not authentically expressing yourself, you're trying to get somewhere else. And you'll realize that the more you get onto that mindset, the farther away you're being from you. You're not being you anymore.
Mm.
And the only time you could be you is right now. You're never going to get to that place where you're set out to be. Or if you do get there using that type of thinking, the personal development mindset, you're going to want to get to another place after that. It's going to be a ladder that's infinitely tall. So you could keep climbing the infinite ladder, or you could realize that the entire ladder is just an illusion. Hop off the ladder, and then you're just falling through life. You're
Exactly.
completely letting go, and there's nothing to grab onto at all. There's no advice. You just completely let go, because there's nothing to grab onto.
Yeah.
And just realizing that there's nothing to grab onto. There's no control out there. There's no power. There's the only option you have is to let go of it all.
Yeah.
And that's when things actually happen to work, and that's when you're brought into the present moment, and that's when you connect authentically and get authentic love in your life.
One of the things that, to draw the connection, or to make the connection to pickup, right? One of the things we used to think, or pickup guys used to think of other people who are not into pickup. Like, for example, there's tons of men in this world who try to make money to get girls, right?
Yeah.
And as pickup guys, we look down on them. We think, oh, like he's making money to get girls. It's not working. I mean, it's working actually sometimes, right? But we think it sucks because we see that person. We see how this person is doing one thing to get something else, and we think it sucks. The same
Yeah.
thing with the muscle guy who trains at the gym to get big, to get girls. We look at them as a pickup guy, like as a developed pickup guy. We think, oh, he's so stupid. He thinks like all those muscles are gonna get him girls. But see what we're doing. Like we
Yeah.
meditate, like use this wonderful Eastern philosophy concept and rape it into, like make it our like tool for satisfaction, or like we go out to approach in order to get something. Like it's the same treadmill, just on different levels. So
Yeah.
if you really think about it, then self-improvement is really, like, it's stupid, because you
Yeah.
might, it can be fun, like if you think it's fun, then do it. But
Yeah.
if you do it to get somewhere else, it's never going to be complete. You can have the perfect relationship, right? Even then, you have the perfect relationship, somebody's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the triple model, Swedish model lay, or whatever you want to have, right? And then next day it's gone. You need a new one. Like,
Yeah.
why not go back into what's always there, leave the infinite ladder, as you call it, and access that infinite room within ourselves that it's
Nicely
a
put.
moment by moment practice. You don't have to do anything. I can do it right now. You can do it right now. Everyone could do it right now.
Yeah.
And if everyone did it, then we probably didn't have any war or something. Right?
We'd be in a utopia and everyone would be having sex all the time and
Exactly.
the world would be perfect. But yeah, I really like what you said. It's really important to have the message of the opposite of self-improvement, the opposite of pickup. At the same time, we shouldn't judge the person who's self-improving. We shouldn't think
No,
that
of course not.
the pickup person's wrong. Like the highest paradigm that I think I'm at is just like complete openness to everything and not judging anyone's path. It's like sharing the insight that I think is the most healthiest. But if someone is living life the exact opposite the way I am, it's to completely like respect and admire them living that path,
Mm-hmm.
and that my path isn't better than their path at all.
That's something that comes with the the detachment from this value perspective on life, I guess, right? That nothing is
Yeah,
better than the other thing, and that also each person has their own speed of development, really.
yeah,
Like even if you obviously see something, or how some person is doing something really that really doesn't serve them, it's just how they develop. Maybe they're even more developed than you are, and you don't know it, and in the end it doesn't matter, because that's not what it is about.
what would you say everything is about? What or a better question would be what would you say you are all about? If you had a message to your core, that if someone on YouTube was like, what's David's core message of who he is and what he wants to project out into the world?
Well,
Kind of random question. I'm not sure if
yeah.
it's very vague, but would you have something to say?
Well, the first answer that comes to mind is that I'm not. I don't want to do it. It really feels that I'm not doing anything, and
Hmm.
it sounds a bit weird and like hippie, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything intentionally, and I really don't want to sound arrogant, and maybe that I don't even know if that sounds that way, but it feels like I am being like I just do stuff because something wants me to do it. It sounds
Yeah,
super creepy, but it's not that I sit down when I make videos. In a way, I think like I couldn't care less what like everyone else is doing. They all have their own path, and those two pick up. They're happy with it at the moment. Otherwise, they would be doing something else. So sometimes I'm asking myself, why am I even doing those videos? Right? Like,
hmm
why? Like, it does.
yeah,
It doesn't change anything really. Like everyone is gonna do their own thing anyway. So there is no meaning really. Like the meaning
yeah,
is just to do whatever life dictates you to do.
hmm
And I see that as true in any area of life, like with work, with relationship, with where you live, with whatever. Like I think maybe I've been moving too far of the path now. Like the before the pendulum was like really on the controlling side, and now it's too far of the other side. Who knows?
yeah,
But right now it just feels like I'm just doing stuff. I don't even most of the time I don't even know what I'm doing, but it somehow makes sense, and to some respect. And I really
yeah,
think what it is. Like there's some things that are important, and those things I love: giving, treating other people with respect, and everything else is just the direct result of life surrounding me, or of me being a little particle in the universe, which is just flowing around and doing its thing. That's how it
Yeah,
feels.
yeah, yes. The author Ernest Hemingway had a quote similar to what you described. He said when he's writing, he wrote lots of books. That his best he would only write when he felt the book was writing itself,
Yeah,
not when he was trying to write, but it was almost like the book was writing him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how it feels like for me too.
Yeah,
You know, the
and
other day I woke up and I sat down and I wrote a poem. I have never in my entire life wrote a poem before. I swear, I don't even like poems. I hate poems. I just graduated with an English major, right? I
yeah,
hate poems. They're so weird. I can't connect to them at all. But I just woke up and I just wrote that stupid thing, and it's quite good. Maybe that's just what I think. My girlfriend liked it too, but you know, like, you don't like stuff just happens, and not just like with work, but with everything, like with the connections you make. Like you said, when you go out, you feel that it just happens.
yeah.
Like that you
And sometimes it doesn't happen, but yeah, for it never just happens when you're doing pickup. But now, if when interacting with girls, it's almost like not me talking to the girl.
Yeah,
It's just a
exactly.
spot. It's just
It's God talking
spontaneous.
to you through you.
It's just like a spontaneous occurrence that just happened.
Yeah,
And I'm just aware of it happening, but it's not me controlling it and pushing myself. It's just I want to do this, so I'm doing it. Like it's that. That sounds really simple, and that's the truth. Like,
yeah, 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 exactly. But at the same time, it ceases to be a big deal, right? It's just like it's just what happens, and it's
yeah,
beautiful because I don't know. That's just how it should be.